January 12th, 1942. 9 minutes past 8 in the evening, 20 miles off Cape Hatteras, North Carolina. The sea is calm in a way that feels dishonest. A thin winter moon hangs over the Atlantic, bright enough to paint a silver road across the water. From the bridge of the tanker, Coimbra, third mate Elias Turner leans against the rail and watches the coastline drift by. He can see it clearly. The lights of American towns burn without fear. Hotels, gas stations, porch lamps glowing like a necklace along the shore. No blackout, no escorts, no warning. Below deck, the engines thrum with a steady, almost comforting rhythm. The ship is heavy with oil, bound north. Elias has been at sea long enough to trust patterns, and tonight feels routine. Too routine. Somewhere deep in his chest, there's a faint tension he can't explain, the kind sailors rarely admit to. Beneath that calm surface, another vessel moves. It has no lights, no sound above a whisper, only patience. Inside a German submarine, U-123, Captain Lieutenant Reinhard Hartigan watches the same coastline through his periscope. He is stunned, not by American strength, but by its absence. Cities blaze like beacons. Ships steam alone, perfectly outlined against the glow. It feels less like a war zone and more like a parade route. Hartigan does not smile. He takes notes. This is his first patrol off the American coast, part of a bold German gamble. Berlin believes the United States is unprepared, distracted, and slow to learn. Hartigan now sees proof sliding past his lens, mile after mile. On the Coimbra, the lookout shouts. Elias turns just in time to see a white line slicing the water toward them. It looks unreal, like chalk drawn across the sea. There is no siren, no chance to turn. The torpedo hits low and deep, punching through steel as if it were paper. The explosion lifts Elias off his feet. The deck twists. Metal screams. Flames roll up from the hold, turning night into sudden daylight. Oil pours into the sea and ignites, fire spreading across the surface like spilled hell. Men run, men fall. Orders vanish in the roar. From the periscope, Hartigan watches the tanker burn. He records the time. He records the tonnage. Then he lowers the scope and slips away, already hunting the next silhouette. Along the coast, people step onto their porches. They see the fire. Some think it's an accident. Others assume it's a training exercise. A few stand in silence, watching a ship die offshore, unaware they are witnessing the opening moments of a disaster. America is officially at war, but on this coast, it still feels distant. The attack on Pearl Harbor happened a month ago, far away across the Pacific. Here, in the Atlantic, many believe the ocean itself is a shield. That belief will not survive the winter. In the days that follow, tankers burn within sight of beaches. Freighters vanish between sunset and dawn. Survivors wash ashore coated in oil, their stories confused and half-believed. Local newspapers struggle to explain what's happening without causing panic. Behind the scenes, the reality is worse. There are no organized convoys along the American coast. Patrols are scattered, coordination is thin. The Navy is stretched, learning on the run. Many commanders still think submarines belong far out in the Atlantic, not hunting within view of boardwalks and lighthouses. German crews call it the second happy time. They operate with shocking freedom. One U-boat captain jokes that the Americans are lighting the targets for them. Another writes home about sinking ships by moonlight, so close to land he can smell the pine trees. Elias Turner does not make it off the Coimbra. His name will appear on a list weeks later, printed in small type. His family will receive a letter that says, "Missing at sea," as if the ocean simply misplaced him. Night after night, the attacks continue. The Atlantic, once thought safe, has turned into a killing ground. And the most dangerous part is not the torpedoes. It's the delay, the hesitation, the refusal to believe that the war has arrived at America's doorstep. Out there, beneath the waves, the U-boats are already moving south, moving north, learning the rhythms of traffic, the habits of fear, the patterns of light. They are not improvising, they are closing in. January becomes February, 1942. The ocean does not calm down, it grows busy. Along the eastern seaboard, ships keep moving as they always have. Tankers hug the coast, freighters run predictable routes, harbor pilots guide vessels out at dusk, watching them fade into the night with a confidence that feels inherited, not earned. In Washington, meetings drag on, charts are spread across tables, warnings arrive from Britain blunt and uncomfortable. They have fought this war at sea for more than 2 years. They know the signs, they know what comes next. But habits die slowly. Rear Admiral Adolphus Andrews, responsible for the eastern sea frontier, works from an office filled with ringing phones and incomplete reports. He reads dispatches describing sinkings off Virginia, off Florida, off New Jersey. The numbers rise. The pattern is clear. Still, the resources are thin. Destroyers are needed elsewhere. Aircraft are scarce. And convoys take time, coordination, and a public admission that the coast is under threat. That admission does not come easily. In the town of Nag's Head, a teenage boy named Caleb Morris rides his bike down to the beach after dinner. He's heard rumors at school, ships burning offshore, sailors coming ashore covered in oil. His father says it's exaggerated. The radio doesn't mention much. Caleb stands barefoot in the sand as darkness settles. Then he sees it, a distant glow on the horizon, orange, flickering, not lightning, too steady, too low. An hour later, the glow brightens. He smells smoke carried on the wind. The ocean reflects the fire, turning black water into moving copper. No siren sound, no patrol boats race past, just the steady pulse of flames far out but unmistakably real. That same night, inside U-66, Oberleutnant Richard Zapp studies a grease-smudged chart under red light. He has already fired his torpedoes once tonight. He will fire again before dawn. His crew works calmly, almost casually. The hardest part of the patrol, he writes later, is choosing which target to sink first. They surface between attacks. Fresh air pours into the boat. The crew smokes cigarettes on deck. They can see hotels along the beach, moving cars, neon signs. America looks awake. It looks untouched. It looks careless. By mid-February, the numbers are impossible to ignore. Dozens of ships sunk, hundreds of thousands of tons lost. Oil shortages begin to ripple inland. Insurance rates spike. Sailors talk quietly in bars, trading stories that never reach official statements. Survivors tell the same tale again and again. No escorts, no warning, no help until morning. One merchant captain, Frank Delgado, survives after his ship is hit off Jacksonville. He spends hours clinging to wreckage, watching his ship burn itself out. When a fishing boat finally pulls him aboard at dawn, he asks one question. Where was the Navy? The answer is silence. Inside Navy offices, frustration grows sharp. Younger officers argue for British-style convoys, for enforced blackouts, for aggressive patrols. Older ones worry about panic, about stretching limited forces too thin, about admitting vulnerability so close to home. Meanwhile, German command listens carefully to its captains. Reports flow back to Berlin describing easy targets, poor coordination, almost no resistance. Admiral Dönitz presses the advantage. More U-boats are sent west. More patrols are authorized. The Atlantic becomes a chessboard tilted heavily in one direction. At night, coastal towns begin to notice changes. Gas station owners are told, quietly, to dim their lights. Some comply, others don't. Tourism matters, business matters. The war still feels theoretical to many Americans, something happening elsewhere, until it doesn't. In early March, a tanker explodes off Long Island. The flash is so bright it lights up windows miles inland. People wake up thinking it's an earthquake. Newspapers run cautious headlines. The word submarine appears more often now, though always surrounded by careful language. Admiral Andrews stares at another map, red pins multiplying along the coast. He knows what must be done. He also knows it should have been done weeks ago. The enemy is no longer probing. They are operating with confidence. And every night without change costs another ship, another crew, another family waiting for news that will never come. The ocean has become a message, repeating itself in fire and wreckage. Listen, or keep losing. March 1942. Just after 3 a.m, 70 miles east of Cape Canaveral, Florida. The freighter Algonquin moves south at 12 knots, her deck stacked high and her bridge dimly lit. Captain Thomas Avery has ordered the lights reduced but not extinguished. Full blackout still feels extreme, unnecessary. He has heard the stories, of course. Everyone has. But the sea looks empty tonight. The stars are sharp. The radio is quiet. That quiet breaks with a shudder that runs through the hull. The torpedo strikes aft, blowing steel outward like a torn seam. Avery is thrown against the chart table. The engine noise drops to a cough, then silence. Somewhere below, men are shouting. Steam hisses. The smell, oil, metal, smoke, fills the bridge in seconds. Avery grabs the rail and looks out. The water behind the ship is on fire. Not far away, a dark shape surfaces. Inside the U-boat, the crew watches without emotion. This is work now, routine. They know how long it will take for the ship to settle, how long before the lifeboats lower. They know no escort is coming. They have learned America's habits faster than America has learned theirs. By now, even the most stubborn voices in Washington feel the pressure. British officers are invited into planning rooms. Their advice, once politely noted, now lands hard. Convoys work. Blackouts matter. Aircraft change everything. The Atlantic is not wide, it is exposed, but change does not arrive all at once. Convoys are formed unevenly. Some ships sail protected, others alone. Crews complain about delays, about zigzag courses that add days to trips. Merchants worry about profits. Local officials worry about public reaction if coastal lights go dark. And the U-boats keep hunting. Lieutenant James Holloway, a young naval aviator, flies patrols out of Norfolk in an aging aircraft with limited range and no radar. His job is simple. Look for wakes, oil slicks, anything out of place. Most days he sees nothing. On bad days, he sees too much. Once, near dusk, he spots a lifeboat. It is overcrowded. Men wave weakly. Holloway circles, marking the position. Radioing for help he hopes exists. As he banks away, he notices debris scattered for miles. The sea tells the story long after the ship is gone. Down below, the enemy adapts too. U-boat captains grow cautious, aware that the window will not stay open forever. They sink ships quickly now. They relocate often. They avoid patterns. Some complain about exhaustion. Others thrive on the pressure. One commander writes in his journal about seeing American children watching a burning tanker from the beach. He does not write how that image stays with him or how it complicates sleep. War records rarely make room for that. By April, the numbers force action. Coastal blackouts become official. Towns go dark at night. Boardwalks close early. The glow that once outlined ships vanishes. It feels eerie, unfamiliar, but necessary. Convoys finally stretch from Florida to New York. Destroyers and small patrol craft escort columns of merchant ships like shepherds guarding nervous flocks. Air coverage expands. Depth charges become more common. And slowly, the balance begins to shift. But for many, the change comes too late. In Savannah, Margaret Lewis waits for a letter from her brother, a radio operator on a tanker last reported off Cape Fear. She rereads his last note, written in a cramped hand, complaining about the food and joking about American coffee. Weeks pass, then months. No letter comes. At sea, Holloway finally gets his chance. Late one afternoon, he spots a thin line cutting the water at an unnatural angle. He follows it, drops lower. The line breaks the surface, a periscope wake. He calls it in, circles, signals a nearby escort. Minutes later, the ocean erupts. Depth charges pound the water, throwing up columns of foam and debris. Holloway cannot see the outcome. He never does. That is the nature of this war. Results are guessed, not confirmed, but the message is sent. The coast is no longer undefended. For the first time since January, U-boat captains begin to report resistance. Missed shots, forced dives, near escapes. The easy nights are ending. The Atlantic has taught its lesson in the hardest way possible. And now, both sides are studying for what comes next. May 1942, just before dawn, 200 miles east of New Jersey. The convoy moves as a shape rather than a line. Dark hulls spaced just far enough apart to maneuver, close enough to feel connected. Smoke drifts low. Engines throb in uneven rhythm. No one speaks loudly. Even the ocean seems to understand the need for quiet. On the bridge of the destroyer, USS Roper, Lieutenant Commander Samuel Green grips his binoculars and stares into the gray. He has been at sea for weeks, sleeping in fragments, living on coffee and tension. This convoy matters, not because of what it carries, but because of what it represents. Change. Below the surface, a U-boat waits. The captain listens through headphones, counting propeller beats, trying to separate escort from merchant. It's harder now. Too much noise, too many moving parts. He waits for a mistake that does not come. Above him, Green's sonar operator raises a hand. Contact. It's faint, uncertain. Green doesn't hesitate. He orders a turn, speed up, drop pattern. The destroyer charges, steel cutting through water. Then the stern lifts as the first depth charge rolls free. The explosion booms through the hull, rattling teeth and nerves. Another follows, then another. Down below, the U-boat shudders, lights flicker, gauges swing. The captain orders a dive deeper, then changes his mind. He can't outrun this. He can only endure. Minutes, stretch, then silence. Green waits. He has learned patience the hard way. Too many escorts rush off after one pass. Too many contacts slip away because no one stays. This time, oil rises. It spreads in a thin sheen, dark and unmistakable. No one cheers. Green marks the position and moves on. There is another convoy tomorrow, another contact somewhere else. Victory here is quiet. It does not feel like triumph. It feels like relief. Across the Atlantic, reports begin to change tone. U-boat commanders speak of heavy escorts, of aircraft that appear without warning, of convoys that refuse to scatter. Sinkings drop, patrols shorten, crews grow tired. Admiral Dunitz reads the numbers and knows the truth before anyone says it aloud. The window is closed. In American ports, sailors notice the difference. Ships arrive together now. Crews disembark in groups, shaken but alive. The stories change, from isolation to formation, from helplessness to shared survival. Caleb Morris, now a few months older, stands on the same beach where he once watched the horizon burn. The coastline is dark now, no glow, no spectacle, just the sound of waves and wind. It feels safer. It also feels heavier. Families still wait for news. Lists of the missing continue to grow. The losses of winter cannot be undone, but the bleeding has slowed. Far out at sea, a German submarine turns east, low on fuel, chased more than it hunts. The crew is silent. They have survived, but survival no longer feels like momentum. This phase of the war is ending, not with a single battle, not with a speech, but with discipline, coordination, and lessons learned too late for thousands. The Atlantic is no longer a blind spot. It is watched, it is guarded, and it remembers everything. Late summer 1942, a calm afternoon, somewhere in the mid-Atlantic. The ocean looks ordinary again, blue, empty, endless. A convoy cuts across it in steady formation, bows lifting and falling in rhythm. The escorts move like watchful shadows, radios alive with quiet chatter. There are no dramatic moments today, no explosions, no sudden turns. That is the point. On one of the merchant ships, Daniel Reyes, a newly signed deckhand, leans on the rail and squints at the horizon. He is 19. This is his first crossing. He has heard the stories from older sailors about burning seas, about ships that sailed alone and never arrived. Those stories feel distant now, almost exaggerated. Almost. An older man beside him, Chief Mate Harold Connors, lights a cigarette with hands that still remember shaking. He has crossed this ocean before, in January, in February, when ships vanished like coins dropped into dark water. Connors watches the escorts instead of the horizon. "Don't let it fool you," he says quietly. Quiet just means someone's doing their job. Reyes nods, not fully understanding. Below the surface, there is nothing. No waiting predator, no patient hunter counting propeller beats, just water and pressure and distance. Months earlier, this same stretch of ocean would have felt crowded with danger. Now, the danger has been pushed back, not erased, but managed. Forced into caution, forced into retreat. The Atlantic has not been won, but it has been stabilized. Back home, coastal towns slowly bring the lights back, not all at once, not carelessly. Blackout curtains remain, patrols continue. The war has taught restraint. Families gather around radios for different reasons now. Announcements of losses still come, but they no longer arrive in waves. The fear is quieter, more personal, less constant. Margaret Lewis finally receives her letter. It does not contain good news. It confirms what she already knows. Her brother is gone. There is no grave, just coordinates and a date. She folds the paper carefully and puts it away. The war has moved on. Her life must too, somehow. Out at sea, Lieutenant James Holloway logs another patrol with no contact. He should feel lucky. Instead, he feels tired. The kind of tired that settles deep and stays there. German submarines withdraw from the American coast, their captains carrying hard-earned lessons back across the Atlantic. They speak less of easy victories now, more of narrow escapes, more of crews lost to depth charges and chance. History will later measure this period in tonnage and statistics. It will mark turning points and strategic errors. It will give names to phases and operations. But for the people who lived it, the memory is simpler. A night when the sea burned, a silence that meant danger, a convoy that meant survival. America did not lose the Battle of the Atlantic along its coast, but it paid for its education in steel and fire. The belief that distance equals safety did not survive 1942. What replaced it was harder, more disciplined, more aware. The Atlantic remained vast. It remained deadly, but it was no longer ignored. And that, more than any single weapon or tactic, changed everything.